by Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as if one gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember it. It was a bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow for the lost Lenore. For the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with the fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating at my entrance door." Some late visitor entreating entrance to my chamber door. 'Tis this and nothing more. Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," I said, or "Madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact was I was napping, and so gently you came a-rapping, so faintly you came a-tapping at my chamber door, that scarcely I was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before, but the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token. The only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," I said, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then, what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more." Open here, I flung the shutter, and with a many flit and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven, of the saintly days of yours. But not the least obsessance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with the mind of a lord or lady, perched above my chamber door. Perched upon that bus of palace just above my chamber door, perched and sat there, nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest shall be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore? Tell me what thy lordly name is on night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marveled that this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing a bird above his chamber door, bird or beast, upon the sculpted bust of his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul was in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather that he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before, and on the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by a reply so aptly spoken. Doubtless, I said, what it mutters is only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, from whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, until his songs were burdened bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden board of nevermore. But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of the bird, and bust and door. Then into the velvet sinking, I betook myself in linking, fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. So this I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl, whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining, on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining, with the lamplight glowing o'er, she shall press nevermore. And then methought the air grew tenser, perfumed with an unseen censer, swung by seraphim, whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff the kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, thing of evil, prophet still of bird or devil, whether tempter sent, whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate, all undaunted, on this desert island enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, I said, thing of evil, prophet still of bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp the sainted maiden whom the angels named Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden who the angels named Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that our sign of parting, bird or friend, bird or fiend, I shrieked upon upstarting, get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door, and take thy beak out of my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on that pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon that is dreaming. And my soul, from out that shadow lies, floating on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore. Madam Toastmaster.